Before we go into all the incredible success that you have, before the accolades, before the salon, the product line, the celebrity clients, what I'm so curious about is the young girl in Westport who had to figure it out herself. I was so fascinated about your upbringing. So I'm just curious, maybe looking back at your younger self or your childhood, what do you think you taught yourself that still lives in the way you show up in the world today and maybe the work that you do today?
I think the biggest thing, even before Westport, being in Jamaica before I moved here, was just figure it out.
Mm,
You
hmm.
know, um, I've had to be really nimble and on my feet and be very independent from a young age. Just being raised with a single mom, we had to be helpful and we had to be resourceful, and we were always given tasks to do. So whether my task was literally at maybe 9 or 10 years old, I was, supposed to go and go to the butcher who was like maybe a mile away and get like, what we needed for dinner, or, and I was told like how to go and where to hold the money and whatever. Like I just was, I don't know. I feel like I was born like a 60-year-old woman.
And do you have siblings? Like where are you? Are you the
I
only
I
child?
am no, I have an older brother. I'm the second child, but we're
Okay,
pretty close in age. I guess we're like Irish twins. Like,
I see.
yeah.
Got it. Because I was going to say, usually the eldest kind of feels that way. Although I'm the youngest, and I'm like, I felt like 6 years old growing up too. I'm like, why have I always been or thought I was an adult? Maybe I wasn't, but I totally get that. And I love that you mentioned, your upbringing really required you to be resourceful. You were helping your mom, trying to do everything you can. And you said something that I'm like, that is the number one quality for anyone successful in life is figuring it out. So much of any business, right? You have your clients, you have your salon, now you have your products. It's not your, I mean, yes, expertise is helpful, but it's like so much of the day to day is figuring things out. Like the team or someone asks you a question, you're like, I don't know, let me go learn that and figure it out. And
Hmm.
you have to feel comfortable in that unknown. So I love that you have exuded that since you were a kid. So that just like completely stands out to me, which I love. And then I'm going to fast forward a little bit because there's so much to talk about. You ended up going to Spelman College. You were hustling on the side, right? You were doing people's hair as a business. Were you charging them at that point?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Is it work if you're not making any money? I don't know. Um, Obviously a nominal amount, but yeah, yeah, charging and, but using it as an opportunity to just get better. At that point, I didn't know that would be the career path, but I knew that I really enjoyed it. And I knew that it was just another means to, besides working at a clothing store, and I worked the overnight shift at a hotel, and then being in school full time, it was like just add it to the list, like a typical Jamaican. It's like, how many jobs can you figure out to like just do what you have to do?
And I would imagine that you were putting yourself through college. It wasn't like your mom was like, here, Katie, here's, money for you to live or whatnot. You had to figure it out all by yourself.
I mean, listen, I definitely was not left to just like hang to dry, but for sure, like I had to work the entire time, and it wasn't a bad thing. My friends who didn't have to work, sure, I was like envious of that, but I was just so used to, even all through high school, having a job that it felt quite normal to me.
Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting. You mentioned like you had a bunch of jobs. You didn't know hair would be the thing you would get into. And after college, that wasn't what you got into. So tell me, like, what was life before? I'm like, was there a life before you being in hair and doing all these incredible things? But tell me, what was your first job? I know you kind of were in to the 2000 recession. So what did your life look like at the time?
A lot of uncertainty. I was honestly pretty lost. Nothing felt like it was really doing it for me. I was in the PR and marketing department of Starwood Hotels W, doing that for a hot second. And then yeah, the soft recession happened. I couldn't find a job. Had like a really unstable like living situation, and I just went home. And home was always there and always dependable, but my mom was quick to say like figure it out. So it just, hair just like presented itself. And I just remember, we're talking like old school, like AOL, like dial-up days. I was like applying for the most random things. I was like, oh, I'll be like an assistant at a travel agent. Like, I mean, I was just doing the most, really aimless. And then one day, a few people close to me suggested, including my mother and another woman who really was integral in my childhood. It's like, you've always loved hair. So I applied to Aveda in New York City on a whim and got in, and then just hopped on the Metro North and took it from there.
It's so interesting sometimes when, because I've been in a similar situation where you just feel lost. You're like, I don't know what I want to do. I've tried this job. You're just trying to do anything to figure your path and you're lost. And sometimes it's the people around you who are like, they see clearly what you're good at. And it's
Yeah.
amazing because it's like a blind spot for you. Like you've always loved hair. It's been the common theme, throughout your upbringing. And it's amazing that, you had people close to you be like, you know what, why didn't you go down this path? And it's just interesting. I share that for anyone who's kind of confused sometimes, asking the people around you, they might have some inspiration for you. And so you ended up, going to cosmetology school. And, obviously right now you have celebrity clients. That's not how it always started. Years of hustle, years of working under people and apprenticeship. So tell me more. What did it really take to get to maybe your first big break? And what was that big break for you?
Oh my gosh, it took so much hard work, and it's really fascinating for me now to watch what it's become, because our industry has totally changed. I mean, 100% totally changed. Back in the day, it really was about apprenticing, putting in the time, like a minimum of 5 years. And now it just would be unheard of for someone to finish beauty school, you know, because of social media and because of this like need for immediate gratification. Everybody wants to be like, I'm a hairstylist, or I'm a celebrity hairstylist, or I do, what everyone wants to be like an influencer. I'm so glad we didn't have the pressure of that, because what I really got to do was to become a master at my craft, and with no rush, And even though obviously I have an internal clock that was like chop chop, because the longer you apprentice, the less money you're making, obviously. But I started off at Fakai with my first mentor, Constance, who, those who know, it's one of those things. This woman was the chicest human being. She had a gray, very sharp bob, very like Iris Apfel before Iris, with these like very distinguishable glasses, round ones. And she did every socialite on the planet. It was like Nan Kepner and, Sigourney was her client, and Meryl Streep, and like Martha Stewart. And it was just so fun, for like, that's who you're getting to witness and see how their color was done. And I became her assistant pretty much on a fluke. Like, her assistant was out sick one day, and got a chance. And the one thing about me is, you give me the slightest opening, it's like I'm gonna like burst the door open.
Yes, I
So
love that.
um so I was with Constance for a while, along with a few other French colorists. This is all at Frederick Fekkai, because they recruited out of my beauty school. And then I requested to be transferred to the Fakai in Los Angeles, because true Jamaican girl, I needed warmth in my life. And I was like, how have I been on the East Coast for this long? Um, I had come to visit LA a few times, and I was like, wait, I can do the same thing, but there, like, I'm out. And when you're in your early 20s, it's the time to try and to, just take those leaps and chances. And luckily, they gave me the opportunity to go get licensed in California on my own dime. But if I could pull it off, I would get the transfer. And that's how I ended up here in LA. But the first big break really didn't occur until I started working for Serge Normant. I stayed with Fakai an additional 5 years in LA, and then left with a few of my coworkers who to this day, we're all still friends. We don't live in the same place anymore, but very supportive of one another. And so Bruno, Corinne, Jessica, myself, we all left together, and they did me a total solid when I didn't realize at Fakai that I was being paid much less than everyone else. And because I was one of the only people that had come up through the apprentice system there. Like Bruno and Corinne were French and they had moved to Los Angeles. And then Jessica, my other friend, had been a stylist for many, many years. So I was just at a different level. But when we moved over to Serge Normant, they encouraged Serge to pay me the same amount that they were paid, and it changed the whole trajectory of my life and my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's what
Hmm.
you call like good friends to have around, you know?
Yeah. So once I went to Surge, it was almost like I was on equal footing and seen in equal footing. And he one day just said, I want you to come with me to do Julia Roberts' hair color. And he disputes this to this day, but he did ask Bruno and Corinne first, and they both were like, no, that's not really for us. Like, Bruno was like, it's going to entail like getting up really early and really being like, just the point in his career, he was like, it's not really like the opportunity for me. And they were like, your girl's Katie. And so again, they went to bat for me. And these are just things that I'll never forget, you know. But Serge was like, no, no, darling, you always my first choice. I'm like, okay. But either way, I got the opportunity, went with him one day, and we needed to make her blonde from brunette. We had a few hours to do it.
Few
And
hours. I always wondered how that
hours.
works. Wow. So it's possible without like burning your hair off.
You
Wow.
know what? I do not recommend it. It was like the scariest like hours of my life because it had to be done so carefully and methodically. And I do like in a perfect scenario like to do it over the course of a few days. But during that appointment, I it was like the first time I actually figured out how to execute something so fast. And I am now known for like my speed, but we did it, and Serge was a big help, and both like just mentally and emotionally just like by my side. And Julia was as lovely as could be, and I felt just really safe and comfortable, and that was the beginning of it all.
Wow. And then I know, I mean, just having also some few friends that are kind of in the world, I know it's so demanding. Like you said, your colleagues were like, I don't know if I want to wake up, and it's like early calls, difficult, like you had to change her hair in the matter of 3 hours. And I'm sure her hair was like, she was a brunette at the time and you had to make it completely blonde. It's very stressful. Did you love that? Do you love that momentum, or you're like, this is an opportunity, and kind of how you said your personality is like, I'm going to run through, like, cause it's very difficult, the day to day, the lifestyle, like working with these celebrity clients. So is that something you enjoy, or what is it that's kind of like attracted you in that space?
I really do. My day-to-day life has a balance. It's not just all that. I do have a very rigorous schedule, but it's not all just celebrity driven. I have women on my schedule that have been with me. I have clients for 23 years. Like since I
Wow.
moved to LA, I've had clients like with me since that time. So, since these women have been with me in my 20s, 30s, and now 40s, which is just wild. So my day is, I'll have a few or one or two or, sprinkled in. And what's great is that where I currently am in my own space, it's a really comfortable place. So everybody's there together. There is no, differentiation between, oh, that person's super famous and, this person is maybe like a school teacher. It doesn't really matter. The through line is that everyone's really lovely and decent, and we have a mutual respect.
I love that. I mean, your salon is phenomenal. So let's talk about that. You were clearly building up this career over a decade, seeing clients, and you partnered with your now business partner, Myka Harris, to start a salon. So tell me more. Where did that inspiration come from? Who really spearheaded it? Like, I would love to hear more about it because it is not a normal salon. It is a
Oh,
beautiful. I'm like, how have I not been there? It's stunning. And I think it's
thank
important to
you.
talk about because we'll get into your product line, which is the next phase. Like, so much of it, I'm sure, came from your first business, which was the salon. So, yeah, how did that inspiration come about?
Well, Micah and I, to go back, like we met at Spelman. So this is now a relationship that's spanning 30 years. So it's business partnerships are tricky, but I do recommend if you go into one, you really know that person well, which we do. And that longevity is what really carries us through the difficult times, because there is that inherent trust that's there. And even when it gets sticky, we can really talk to each other and give it to each other straight. So we met at Spelman, then fast forward to, and then remained friends and traveled the world together. And I mean, had a ball. We will always say like there was no stone unturned. We did the most with the least. She
I love that.
yeah, her ex-husband was Italian, and so we had the Italian wedding, and we had I'm like we because I was really all up in it. But we also like got to travel the world, and there was nothing that we didn't do. So our point of view was always really well informed, and me being from another country and Micah just being extremely well traveled, and she went to grad school in Paris, and like we are like just the quintessential like bougie bohemians, which is what led us to calling our company Highbrow Hippie. um we started it as a blog just to dump all of our feelings down, like back when blogs were blogs, is like in 2009. Yeah, so it existed in real beta form.
Love that.
And yeah, and we really took it seriously, and that's where my English major kind of came into play, thank goodness. And I still to this day am the like proofreader for everything. Before anything is published on our website, they're like, has Katie looked at it yet? Um, so we started it because we had similar sensibilities, how we approached life, how we approached what we wore, how we thought, in how we approached beauty. So eventually, when we thought, how do we monetize this? It became clear because Micah was also in the beauty industry by proxy. She owned a natural waxing and nail salon in Atlanta. So she knew the back end of things. She doesn't perform services. So it made sense for us to partner together and take advantage of the like, huge clientele that I'd built in LA. And she also had a design background. So we knew that we could take like some of her formal education with that, our aesthetic, put it together, create the place of our dreams. And it was not without many delays and hiccups because, and it's something we often don't talk about, mostly because we can't for some of it, and I'll let everyone dig where they will. But we used to have another investor, and we eventually had to part ways. And it was, when I tell you, a legit 5 year setback. So we knew that once we started building that iteration of Highbrow Hippie around 2012, and in 2017, the rug was pulled from underneath us. Yeah. So, and it was pretty well documented because we were so excited about the process and we wanted to share the process as we were doing it in real time. So when the opportunity was taken away from us, it was devastating, and people were going through that heartbreak with us. And we then took a moment, took a beat, and we were able to start over and open it anyway, but this time with 100% control of our company, instead of 40%, which is a huge deal,
Wow.
as we can
Yes.
get into percentages later. Yeah. And then we did it in a smaller way, but we did it really 100% our way. So once we were able to open the brick and mortar the way we could do it and could afford to do it in 2019, it really was a true reflection of us 100% through and through.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. I can't tell you how many women have come on this podcast and they have had not a great situation with like a former co-founder or investor and and I appreciate you sharing this because it's very sensitive and I know there's certain things you can't talk about. And so many people are like, can you cut that part? And I'm like, man, if I just had like a podcast on like the behind the scenes of like what really happened. So I appreciate you sharing that because I can't even imagine how difficult 5 years in, rug gets pulled. And just from that experience, for anyone who's listening in, who's like, I need an investor, what were maybe some of the learnings that you have kind of now going into you owning the business 100% and, then ultimately your product company. But yeah, biggest learnings you had from that huge setback you went through.
Gosh, I literally am like covered like in chills because I can't stress it enough. We we probably took a month to just cry. If I knew then what I know now, it's really trust your gut. There were signs that we ignored, but it was such a great opportunity that we really wanted to take advantage of it because, we'll go into this too, like the lack of funding for, not only Black founders, but Black women. It's abysmal. So we had this opportunity that everyone, was saying, oh, it's too good to be true. And that really would get under my skin and irk me because it was like, why not us? Why we're excellent, of course someone would want to invest in us. So when the rug was pulled out from underneath us, I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was all these things that of course now I know I had nothing to be embarrassed about because we really went after this opportunity with our full selves, with our full heart, and you can't control other people and, their integrity or lack thereof. So, I would say trust your gut and don't be afraid to speak up for yourself. Now that we did it the way that we did, I would say there's nothing wrong with starting small and having ownership, because sometimes you see this opportunity that may not be exactly what it is, and you give away all of your company, and there's nothing left behind. And if you're really looking, as we are, to eventually exit, you need to have something to be able to hold on to. So it was such a blessing in disguise, but it was a really, really painful lesson to learn. Um, and one that I wouldn't change. The only thing that gets me is those 5 years because now I'm in my late 40s and I'm so tired. And I wish I had the energy that I had. Like, I was like, damn it. Like, you literally robbed me of my years, like, of my energy.
Oh my gosh. I'm sure, but like you said, you don't regret the situation because you now own 100% of the company. And one thing that you said, which I totally agree to, is there's nothing wrong with starting small. And I never thought that way until I worked for other companies that raise a ton of money because that was like the thing to do. And I was like, I want to be a part of this. I want to learn. And being in the behind the scenes, I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't own a majority of the company. You are killing yourself. Like when you raise money, it's an obligation. Like you have to talk to people. You need to hit certain metrics. And I was like, okay, this is a completely different ball game when you're in here behind the scenes. And some people like that path and some people don't, but I love starting small. So I can't imagine like 5 years. And what was probably really difficult is that you guys were documenting the process. So it's kind of like I hate the word failure, like a public
It
failure,
was a complete public failure. But you know what? It built a thick skin, like I often said after it happened, like surviving that, like nothing rattles me now. Nothing. I mean, things happen all the time, and my team will be like, whoa. And I'll be like, oh, that.
Yes, I love that. And that's not something that, and I feel like that's a major quality in business. And that comes with building that muscle. Like you will get burned somewhere or another. And it's like, you can't make it up. Like I'm sure you have a whole book of things. I'm like, if we could all do like a podcast on like crazy shit you can't make up. So now it's like 4 or 5 years in, something is crazy. And you're like, okay, whatever, we'll figure it out. But I love that that was a starting point. And, talking about just hardships and difficulty, like you guys ended up finally opening this incredible salon and then the pandemic hit. So what
Yeah.
was that for you? Because it was your money, right? You guys put blood, sweat, and tears. You already were quote unquote delayed. So what did that look like? And how did you guys survive that tragic moment? You're like, why are we going through all of my tragic moments?
Because it was actually, you couldn't believe it. And like you said, and I'm skimming the surface of like, if I could really go into the shit that we went through, but yes, then that happened. And so I just remember being, again, so distraught because when we did finally open, it was like the amount of joy in the room of people being so genuinely overjoyed for us that I still, to this, I watch the video from that opening party. I weep every time. It was so emotional, and we were surrounded by women who had been my clients for 20 years, and that were just, no matter what, they're going to show up, and oh, the doors are open, we're here. And so when the pandemic happened, they were like, we will be damned if you guys close down. So whatever needs to happen to push you over this hump, we're going to help do that. And we became so resourceful, again, because nothing really phases us. I had long always like done these color kits for my clients when they traveled and we had to be apart. Like overnight I was producing these color kits. I mean, they were so jank in the beginning. Like, I mean, everything was like handwritten and like, but I tried to do this personal touch and, sprigs of rosemary tied on the bag and, yeah, it was lovely. And then running to their houses in my car, like, in the dead of night and leaving it at their doorsteps. And, clients, we had, thankfully, my business partner had managed to get like phase one of our website up at that point. So we had some third party products on that website and we were just constantly cleaned out. We had vendors that allowed us to place larger orders and then like delay the payments to them so we could at least be selling retail. I mean, whatever we did to bring in revenue, we were able to do. And we brought in enough revenue that we never missed a payment of rent. We managed to keep our team like somewhat afloat. It was so hard. And by the time we were able to have like a halfway reopening, we were so busy because the way the space is designed is mostly
You're
outside.
right. That is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So we worked straight for 38 days. It was insane. Like we had a wait list, like, from here to Buffalo, and we just put our heads down and worked, and our team worked so hard. And at the end of each day, we'd all be like laid out on the couch on the patio, but like we were able to dig ourselves out of that hole pretty quickly.
And when you were going through that time, obviously your priority is like making sure rent is paid, making sure your team is paid. Where did you and your co-founder kind of fall into that? Like, did you have to take a pay cut during this time? Like,
What pay? Like
yeah,
there.
yeah, well, I know exactly. That's what I want to talk about. Like, people are like, "Oh, I want to start a business and make a lot of money." I was like, "There's a lot of dips and turns." Exactly, like you are last in the totem pole in situations like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I still am. Um, and it's fine because overall, we're so lucky to have two. We're lucky, and it's also really hard. We have two businesses that we're running right now. So, but one business has always helped the other in different ways. Because we are able to show so much revenue from the salon business, we were able to get a small business loan that helped us jumpstart our product line. So, one thing led to another, and that was just because of all of the revenue that I was bringing in. Now, that revenue, I barely see any of it, where I'm paying a team of a lot of people or paying Abbott Kinney rent, it's a lot. So, and it's a long game play for me. But again, at the time, once we did our raise, which we'll get into, like we owned 100%. So, it's okay to play a long game into if you're reinvesting back into yourself, because those type of financial decisions were giving us a lot of power, and because we didn't have to rely on other people. And in the end, because we were able to put some money as well into our product company, we were able to retain again the majority of that company as well. So you have to make such smart financial decisions. And I was not always so financially, like, deft, but you learn really quickly. Like, I don't know. Now I can, my friend Stephanie, I'll never forget it. When we were first launching Highbrow Hippie, she's another entrepreneur. She taught me how to read an Excel spreadsheet. I didn't know how to. And we laugh about that. I was like, what is this?
Were
And
you
now I can.
able to get it when she was teaching you, or
Yeah,
did it take
I
some
mean, it was a
time?
long time ago. It took some
Yeah.
time, but
Yeah.
now, I mean, I can tell
Rates.
you how much money we have in every single bank account. I can tell you, like the runway that we have, the cash runway for this. Like, I am so on top of it, which you have to be as a founder. You've got to be financially literate and responsible. And it's one thing that now, because you went through 2020, then it got a little bit better with like, oh, there's these opportunities for funding, but now there is no funding, especially for Black owned businesses. So you really have to be able to weather this next storm, which we're doing quite well.
I love that you said, because I hear a lot of people are like, I'm not a numbers person. Like, I'm not good at numbers. And I'm like, in your business, you got to know at least the basics and like understand money in, money out. How much money do you have? Do you make money? Are you making money? Like, it can feel very intimidating, but I love that you said your friend sat with you, taught you. Obviously, when you're running a business, you learn by doing, and you leaned into it, which I think is huge. And it goes back to what you said early on. Like, you see an opportunity, you know it's important, and you will do whatever it takes to figure it out. And I think that's really important, because you hear people say, like, I'm not a numbers person. I'm like, are you running a business or is it a passion project? It's very different. Very
Very.
different. So tell me more. So I love also that you mentioned you got an SBA loan. A lot of people don't talk about that. My brother also started a company and got an SBA loan. And I'm like, this is wonderful. Like, if you have an asset, which your salon was. So I love that's how it jump started you. Did you guys always know the next step was creating products? Like, let's start the salon, let's build it out. And then the vision was always a product line. Like, how did you think about that?
We did. And it's so funny because we're both very business minded, but we map things out and we visualize, and not woo woo manifestors, but we definitely saw it years ago. And that's why this salon's not called Kadi Lee. The salon's called Highbrow Hippie, because we always knew that the brand was such a strong entity and it could be many things. When we first started, we kind of did this I don't know, wish list of like, what could it be? And we're like, we could have a coffee table book. We could have a clothing line. We could have, and we could, and we still can. Like, it could be so many things, because when you hear the name, it's really like, do you identify with that feeling? Is that the way you live your life? And obviously, beauty was such an obvious and easy entree, but it really could be anything. And we knew that. And we knew that we had to really take that opportunity to just make the brand as big as we could make it. So, yes, products.
Yeah, products. And like you said, you kind of went into Highbrow Hippie thinking, oh, this is some kind of lifestyle brand. You can dabble in so many different products. So how did you decide to do the serum and the supplements? And then also, what did the early days look like? Because I'm sure you guys touched so many products. You were testing a bunch of stuff. So how did you eventually land that?
Gosh, a few different ways. You know, Highbrow Hippie is, of course, Myka and I. And, we're both Leos. We're
Oh,
both
really? I
very,
love
yeah,
it.
we're both very opinionated. So even though hair is our bread and butter, the way we approach hair has always been about health and wellness. So, and before wellness was this buzzword, our tagline, I mean, I'm talking back in 2009, was beauty, wellness, and conscious living. So, and the conscious living part allowed us to really feel free to talk about the approach to how we do life, really. So, when it came to a product choice, we are conscious because what was happening in the chair is, post pandemic, everybody started losing their hair. And my clientele, the sweet spot of which they lie is really this postpartum woman all the way to postmenopause. And everybody, no matter what stage of life, was going through the same thing. So everyone had the same questions in the chair. My hair doesn't feel great right now. And everyone was going through some level of stress because it was a collective stress happening. And it seemed to be this like quiet hum that wasn't going away. So, you know, we knew that to launch with a shampoo and conditioner would be like a death knell. Like, who cares? It would just be added to the pile of everybody else is doing that. But to be already known as true hair health experts and to have this built-in community from the atelier and from these people that have been cheering us on forever and knew that, we carried this excellent work ethic and integrity in everything that we did, they knew that if we were going to launch something that said, I'm going to help you with the health of your hair, that we were not going to be fucking around. So those were our first two products. It was an absolute no brainer. The development, my gosh, took forever.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because
Yeah.
I'm in the thick of that with different products. And I'm like, Lord, no one talks about this. So tell me, because you guys clearly had this vision. You're like, okay, we're experts. We know what we want, but then creating that is a whole other process. So walk us through that journey.
I mean, you're hiring obviously experts. We had a formulator, we had, a dermatologist on board that was helping us. We had a product development manager that was helping us. You've got your packaging experts. Like it is not a cheap endeavor. So thankfully, again, we had this other business that could help. We had the SBA loan. We had the combination of things to really do it slowly and do it correctly. And knowing that there's a lot of competition out there, but what they don't have or what they've had to recreate is the community, which we are community driven and led and community first. So we knew that was like our secret weapon. And obviously, it helps that I have all these clients that are known for their beautiful hair, that are quite public facing. And so that was another kind of thing in our arsenal that we knew we could, launch with their support and help. And we just went for it, knowing that that approach to just even those two products and really focusing on the, topical exterior, but also interior. What's going on? What are you eating? How are you taking care of yourself? Because I can always tell when someone's not healthy from their hair state. And taking that approach of interior and exterior, that can be done with so many other products, which we have more coming soon, which is super exciting. And I don't know, to us, it seemed like not only a no-brainer, but it seemed to also pull from both of our strengths, because Micah's like a budding herbalist, and obviously, like, I've got the outside covered. So we just put both of our brains together, and that's how we form the seed. Then we turn to our team of experts, and then it grows from there.
And was it, and also I have two thoughts. One of them being, like there are so many positives of starting a business, quote unquote, later in life. Like you've built this reputation, you've built this clientele, you've built your salon. So there's, you have this built in community, like you said, that you've worked so hard from and a reputation. So I love that, you're now launching products and whatnot. Cause when you're young, you don't have that. And I'm like, there's pros and cons to both. But when you finally nail down, let's just talk about like I mean, it's not a scalp serum, the hair serum. How many iterations did it take? You said you were slowly building this with your own funds, the SBA loan. So once you put the team together, how many iterations and how long did that take to finally feel like this is it?
I'd probably say about 12.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, yeah, major. And then once we go from our chemist then to the lab and do the transfer, because we didn't just start with a lab or any sort of stock formula and, reverse engineer anybody else's. We started from scratch. So it took a while. But I don't know. We felt we had nothing but time,
I love
like
that.
to really, again, we had just launched another business that we had to go through, its own growing pains with really making the team stable, and it's in such a good place right now, knock on wood, so it was okay for it to take a little bit longer. And then, does it have a scent, no scent, like, all the things that come into play that you don't really think about. But what you mentioned of doing things a little later in life, I will say it helps us definitely make decisions faster. We are in our no bullshit phase of life.
Great. I'm getting there. I'm in the transformative state. I'm just getting there. I love it.
Yeah. We're like, sometimes we can just look at each other and be like, that's a no. Or we'll like keep the poker face and we'll hang up from a call with like 10 other people, and I'll call her and be like, girl. And she'll be like, girl.
That's good. You
Weird.
have a poker face. My co-founder does. I'm like, you see it in my eyes. I'm like, oh my God.
I do and I don't. Sometimes I am getting texts from my team like, fix your face.
Yeah, yeah.
But we do make decisions a lot faster. And, I heard this piece of advice recently because we also have so many amazing women in our chair that are entrepreneurs and of the biggest scale. And I think one of my clients is Emma Greed, who is like, I
Amazing. I was
mean,
just listening to her before this. I'm like, I love her. Literally just finished her podcast with Mark Cuban. I'm like, she's amazing. He's amazing.
yeah, but it's do what you're good at. And I'm really good at this. I'm really good at doing hair. I'm really good at connecting people. I'm really good at knowing what my clients need. And, Myka is really great at like design and really great at like, what the packaging needs to be, and really great. And we're really great at like communicating and like crossing over on those things. And so this line, why we really think and why it is working, is because we're doing what we're good at. And it just feels great to do it at this stage of our life because we're really going through, like, blazing through the shortcuts. Like, we're just getting right to the dirt of it.
Yes. And you guys have so much experience and you both have complementary skill sets, which I think is like the number one superpower with any business partner or whatnot. So tell me more about the point where you joined this accelerator, and maybe, why did you join the accelerator, and maybe what was some of the biggest pivotal learnings or shifts that came from that?
Well, I joined the accelerator because you don't know what you don't know. And I did not know how to raise money properly.
So you
And
knew you needed to raise money, like you were like, we're
yes,
ready to raise.
we're
Okay.
ready to raise, but we knew that we didn't need that much because we didn't want to go aggressive. We did not want to go to the VC route. We knew that we had a network, again, going back to this community of women that were eager to support us. They knew the product line was coming. And so I needed to, again, like, I didn't know how to do, like, read a spreadsheet. I needed to know, what does raising money even mean? And so I had another friend who was an entrepreneur, Mary. And again, like, surround yourself with people who know shit that you don't know. Okay. So including your friend group. And it's just funny how now most of my friends are also business owners because we just need each other's support.
Totally.
Like,
I'm like, this
yeah.
podcast is like therapy for me. Like listening to you, I'm like, it feels like they get it. There's like certain people that just get it. No matter where they are in their journey, they can have $1 billion company. They could just be getting started. Yeah. It's like, they just understand. So I love that.
Yeah. So the raising money part, My friend Mary had done this accelerator called Dream Ventures, and yeah, and it was run by Kelly Arena and Annie Evans, and both of whom I had never met before. And when I tell you, I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. I just like applied, got accepted. Okay, I paid the amount, and then all of a sudden one day I'm on these early morning Zooms, and you have to understand I work 7 days a week. So to carve out the time to do that was absolutely bonkers. Like, but and they were on the East Coast, so super early here for me, but
And it's
almost better.
intensive. It's like 4 months. It's like an intensive program,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely condensed, and but it was almost better because I could get it in and then still have a pretty much full day. Like sometimes when I would, be driving somewhere for a house call, or, being driven by my coworker, I would be like listening to the session, or, I was always in my pajamas, but it was like definitely come as you are, like, and another space where I did not care about asking stupid questions. I
I
just
love
asked
that.
all the questions. And I really became close with Kelly, who had the financial background of the two, and they're actually offering a new summer course right now. I'm going to give them a plug because they really were integral in my success. They're offering a summer course right now that's like a very condensed version, even more condensed than I did. And so you guys should check it out. But I ended up really connecting with Kelly, and they both offered these office hours where I got to ask these questions that maybe you were a little embarrassed to ask in front of the group because maybe they were obvious. And by the end, it was just clear that I needed to go for a friends and family round. And they also, I mean, they literally taught you how to do it. So they're like, this is one way you can approach it. Have an event. They're like, you literally have a physical space. Invite people into your space. So we just held an open house one day. We held multiple sessions in one day where we took all of the information that people would need to know about the company that was top line, like obviously not deep financials, but, you know, definitely a forecast. And forecast also the products that we were thinking about launching. And we did our spiel. And we each took a section, and kind of went back and forth. And we had great attendance at both. And I should also say, I did this accelerator and I won the accelerator, which was
Amazing.
freaking bonkers because I don't know, I was like this. I was just like being me, and but that gave me the fuel to know that the idea was good,
Gotcha. That's where the
you know?
confidence really came, like getting people together, presenting. I love that.
Yeah, and we had to present in front of VCs and in front of, people who could really move the needle. But again, for us, I knew that my approach was going to be friends and family because we were not looking to raise like, over 2 million. We wanted to like keep it small. And we did a combination of, check sizes ranging from 50K to 250K, to also people being able to join a smaller group and putting in as little as 10K, and doing that vehicle together is called an SPV. So what was so beautiful about that is that it allowed clients of mine who may not be, wealthy in the sense that they could give a $250,000 check, but they wanted to be a part of it. And now we've got like this group of cheerleaders that feel that they've got a little piece of the pie, and it's become a very special group, special cohort of women. But the first commitment we got was literally that day that we did the open house, and it was from a client of mine who I had no idea was even looking at us on her radar. I mean, someone who is quiet and who is just an observer. And when I saw that commitment come in, and it was, over email, and I counted the zeros, I burst into tears.
Oh my God, I would too.
because this is like not a famous person. It was like someone who was like just really was so impressed that we never gave up. It was too much. Our whole team was like it was like another sign that like we are doing this, we can do this, people believe in it. And for her to put that first quarter of a million commitment was huge, huge, you know, for just my belief, because you do falter because you're just like, am I fucking crazy?
Yeah. And it's very vulnerable to ask people for money on this idea. Like, and your clients, you know them. It's like a different level of vulnerability. So I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, I will never forget that moment of, because she saw what happened when the rug got pulled out from underneath us. And I remember a conversation I had with her because, oh my gosh, we just had so many delays, and we were trying to get like the a permit for the building at one point. And I would do their hair, and I'm kind of mortified at this thinking back, because I was so emotional for so many years trying to launch this company. And one day she just said, "What do you want? You know, what would make you happy?" And I said, "I just want a chance. I just want to launch my company." And like she like listened to that and tucked it away. And this woman who no one knows like came through and was like, "I'm number one." And I was like, "Holy shit." It was awesome. It
Oh
was
my
awesome.
gosh. It's like those moments are something else. Like I even get emotional thinking about that because I know, not that I know that exact experience, but I can imagine someone who has seen you through all the trials and tribulations. And like you said, you just wanted a chance to come and put a big check size. And like you said, she's just one of your clients. It's not like a celebrity or anything. It's really, it's so interesting. I remember when I was starting my company, this old boss who has seen me, you know, it's like similar to your client. She has seen the way you work over the years. Like they have witnessed you from afar. He didn't even ask me what the business was about. Like I'm in the women's health space. He has no idea what it is. And he told me over the phone, he's like, "What are you up to?" I'm like, "Oh, I started my own business." He's like, "Well, listen, me and my wife will be your first check whenever you need it." And I remember just hearing that, I cried. I got off the phone and I remember thinking, it's like this validation of someone seeing you when like you're taking a chance on yourself. So it's like you're really feeling seen and someone is willing to put money behind you. It's a feeling that you can't even describe. So I can't even imagine like the first real commitment coming in. And oh, like how beautiful also to have the right people around you. Like you went to the accelerator, you really understood what kind of money you wanted to raise, friends and family, and you've built this community that has really supported you and you are part of that. Like it didn't happen overnight. It happened decades later.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh,
Decades
that's,
later.
that's so beautiful. Well, I'm so proud of everything you guys are building. And I'm so glad you have that validation that you've been wanting for so long over the years. It's coming to life in all sorts of ways. And I know we're coming up on time and I feel like we could jam out on all things business and life and whatever for a while, but kind of like reflecting back on all these businesses. Like you said, you're running two businesses. I would even say your personal
Three,
client
actually.
three. Yeah, I was going to say it's three
Yeah.
businesses. So you're super busy. You know, what has entrepreneurship revealed about yourself? Maybe the parts that you're most proud of and maybe the parts that you're still working on.
I definitely am proud of how much I've learned, and how much just like I literally feel my brain expanding every day. Um, I'm proud of the people that surround me with our team. I go to work every day really happy to go to work. And that's pretty big, you know, and even though the exhaustion is next level, I did not realize in the beginning just how much of my personal time I'd be giving up. I don't have any personal time at the moment. So I really fight hard to carve it out. And, you know, like I'm about to go on vacation at the end of next week. In order for me to do that, I'm literally going to be working till like 8 p.m. every single night until then, you know, and but it is what it is. Like, whatever it takes to get us where we need to be. Obviously, like, we're in too deep now, you know, and
Yeah.
like, well, I'm going to stop
Yeah.
now.
That's true. Like you're in it. It's like
Yeah, but like it's a lot. Like it's a lot of travel for, my private clients. It's a lot of hours on my feet for the salon clients. It's like 10 to 12-hour days on my feet. And then on the other days, it is just back to back Zooms where, oh my gosh, if I look at a screen one more minute, I'm going to lose my mind. Like that part of it. Also, I'm grateful that it does switch around because I don't stay in one place for far too long. And so I guess that keeps it exciting. But what I'm working on and getting better at every day is delegation and asking for help and accepting the help. So, like right now, we're literally getting ready to shoot a TV segment, in less than an hour. I'm not at the salon. Everyone's getting it ready. I trust that they're doing a great job. All the prep was done last night, and it's like you hand it over and then I'm gonna walk in and then it's just time to do it. But before I'd be involved in like every single thing, and it's like you just can't do it that way anymore. You've got to really pick and choose where your energy goes. Where it goes it flows, and all that stuff. So it's like I'm becoming a little smarter with that, and I wasn't that adept at it before.
I mean, that's something I'm thinking about all the time. And I feel like you come to a point where you're so busy where you're like, I will lose my mind if I continue doing things as is. And like you said, you're learning so much every day. Your mind is blown. It's like business is just pushing you to another level all the time where it's like you weren't like that before, but you got to a point where like, I need support. I need help. And I love that you mentioned you still wake up feeling excited because someone seeing the behind the scenes, like, you're flipping through your passion of hair and clients and connecting people and community, but you're also, when I'm so impressed by it, I don't see this a lot with people who are like excellent in that sphere. Like you're also doing the operations, like you're not scared, you're involved, you know what's going on. So do you ever feel burnt out because there might be parts of the business that you don't love, or you feel like you've created a good blend where you still, like you said, show up happy every day when you wake up that next morning?
I mean, there are definitely parts of the business that I like better than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now when I paint hair, it feels like a freaking vacation. I
Sure.
can just get lost in it, and like it's so nice because my clients and I, like, sometimes we'll talk, sometimes it'll be total silence, it'll just be the music, and it gives my brain that kind of rest period, which is nice. Sometimes I'll need to be on a call while I'm painting their hair. They don't care. My earphones are in, I'm listening in, whatever. Um, it just seems like such a team effort, even with them, that they know. And because our clientele is, skews a little bit more mature, it's like everyone's busy.
Yeah.
Everyone gets it.
Yeah.
You
I was gonna say
know,
they get it.
and
Yeah.
they just get it. They're just like, oh, Katie's not half stepping on the hair, that I can trust. And then it gives them a chance to like also chill out and relax and get some work done on their end. So, we have right now we're kind of in the thick of it because we do have a huge launch coming up.
Oh, mhm.
Yeah, in the beginning of October.
Oh,
So
amazing.
yeah,
Okay.
it's really fast approaching, and so even while I'm away, we are working pretty nonstop because we're planning like the photo shoot and the lunch and all of that thing. And by the time we get back in late August, it's like September. It's a wrap. Like all of a sudden you're there and it's launch time, and we have this. I don't know why we keep doing this to ourselves, but we have 6 launches next year, so it'll be a
Oh,
little bit more
wow.
varied. But
Mhm.
we launch before the holidays every time, and it is like the busiest time at the atelier. Like where I mean, Christmas, it's like forget it. We're on speed. There's Christmas trees, there's music, there's like all this stuff going on. But what's great is that it is so exciting and the energy is so high in the physical space that it helps the product line as well. People are buying gifts and like it's just really festive, but my gosh, we need to learn our lesson because it's like we are so, all of us, like what we do for the whole team every single year is we shut the entire operation down before Christmas. And for 2 weeks, there are no orders shipped. There is nobody's hair is being done. and we don't reopen until well after the new year. And it is something that people have had to get used to. But now they're like, oh gosh, when's your last day again? Like they know. They know that like everybody deserves a pause. Our team deserves to go see their family. And so knowing that that's at least coming, we can, from September to December, we all just march ahead with like full steam, and then we take our time and we collapse afterwards.
Yeah, I love that. But there's got to be things that you're looking forward to. I mean, you're looking obviously the lunch or so much launch. There's so much momentum, but like to know you have 2 weeks of downtime, I love that. I've been thinking about doing that, so now I'm super motivated. And when everyone's off, it's like no one's pinging you, no one's bothering you, so it's real downtime for yourself. But oh my gosh, Katie, you are busy, girl. I am so excited for this launch in October. 6 launches next year. I have your beautiful hair oil here. And I'm like, the branding and everything, like you can see the intentionality and it's amazing. But
It's actually a water-based serum. There's no oil in it, but everyone calls it an oil, and
oh,
that's
wait,
okay. Yeah.
really? That is
It's water. Yeah,
interesting.
it's water-based for a reason because oil sometimes, unless you're doing specific scalp like oiling and moisturizing, they tend to clog. So for this growth serum, it's all water-based so that it could distribute evenly for everybody and that it's really gentle on the scalp.
Amazing. And like washing it out is probably easier because sometimes I'm like, I got to really wash the oil off. Incredible. Well, I'm so glad you told me that. I'm excited to dabble into it more. But Katie, this was so much fun. You're a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for joining us today. It was so good seeing you.
I know, like I feel like we're obviously in touch on social media, but like it's nice to, see your face again.